I'm Charlotte Jones, co-host of the John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock on WJZZ Cool TV. Also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Dr. John Telford is a former Detroit Public Schools superintendent, a former world-class athlete, conqueror of Olympic champions, a championship track coach, poet, newspaper columnist, a longtime civil rights crusader, and author of 7 books: Creative Insubordination, What Old Men Know, The Will Robinson Story, The Poetic Prancings of Mad John, The Poet Emperor of Earth, and his explosive autobiography, A Life on the Run. Plus, another upcoming poetry book, Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit poetic epic. His books are available on Amazon.com or by calling 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. Dr. Telford has been called a legend and also a lightning rod for controversy, a recipient of the City Council Spirit of Detroit Award and the Joe Louis Foundation Spirit of the Champ Award. He was named Wayne State University's Alumnus of the Year, and a Detroit track is named for him. His email is drjohntelfordedd@aol.com. That's dr.johntelfordedd@aol.com. Dr. Telford also has a show on WCHB AM 1340 that airs on Saturdays at 9:30 in the morning and Mondays at 6:30 in the evening. That's on WCHB AM 1340, Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Mondays at 6:30 p.m. And now, without further ado, I present to you that old native Detroiter, the one and only Dr. John Telford.
Thank you, Char J.
We're going to play it again.
Thank you, Char J. And we almost played the introduction again. Thank you, Char J, a.k.a. Charlotte Jones, author of A Ain't Always for Apple, an erotic adult alphabet book. A Ain't Always for Apple. My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Blue salt melts my mid-March snow. Speedy cars and sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salt? No complex chemistry here, only the old color of a new sky. And there would have been a new sky dawning today if my guest had shown up on the John Telford Detroit Show on WJZZ Cool TV, the internet television station that I broadcast on every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. Interviewed and co-hosted this time, but interviewed today by Char J, because Char is going to interview me.
Yes.
She's going to interview me about my run for the school board. So, Char, start doing your introductions and start shooting the questions, and let's do the thing.
Okay, so John, you're a former Detroit Public Schools superintendent. You're born and raised and educated from kindergarten through doctorate in DPS and at Wayne State University, where in the mid-1950s you were an NCAA and NAAU All-American who outran Olympic champions and was undefeated at 200 and 400 meters, representing the U.S. and Europe on our national team. So you host a show on WCHB, AM 1340, and also here on WJZZ Cool TV. And you have written thousands of newspaper columns, 8 books, including 2 books of poetry. You've directed a number of local human rights agencies, has taught, coached, tracked, administrated in DPS and several suburban school districts, UAD Mercy, Macomb County College, and Wayne State and Oakland universities, right?
That is all true, Char, and now that you've said all that, I don't know if you need to interview me, because you've given all my background, but that's good. Okay, so shoot me some questions and I'll start to try to answer them.
So you're running for school board.
I'm
Right.
running for the school board. You bet.
Okay. So let's talk about where and when were you born, and where did you grow up?
I was born in Detroit in January of 1936. And you know, the gentleman who was supposed to be here today tells me that I'm too old to run for the school board, you know, because I'm 86 years old. I'll be 87, you know, by the time I get on. But I was born in Detroit. I went to school at Estabrook Elementary School at Linwood and McGraw from kindergarten through 8th grade. And that was an old school. It had a sliding, we used to slide down a fire escape. And had a lot of fun doing that. It was one of those schools built in the 19th century. That's where I got my K through 8 education.
Okay, so your parents, your mother, you said was a school teacher?
My mother taught school for 40 years. She was an elementary school teacher in and around Detroit. She taught in Taylor for a while, but she taught for most of her years kindergarten in the city of Detroit, and I owe a lot to that lady. She was a saint.
Okay.
And my father, of course, was he was a professional boxer. He came up very hard. You know, in those days, people didn't come up the way kids come up today. When he was 13 years old, he was working in a coal mine. His father took him down to the coal mine to work in the coal mine. By the time he was 16, you know, his dad rode the rails up from where he was to Detroit, and then he brought his family up. And by the time my dad was 16, he was professionally fighting in the city of Detroit, and he fought a lot of fights in Toledo as well. He was a very interesting guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to school in Detroit. K through 12 education was all in public schools, right?
Yep. All in public schools, K through the doctorate, public schools.
Okay. And then your college education. Tell us about your education period, K through 12 and college.
Okay, well, K through 12, I had some really great teachers. You know, I learned to play the violin at Estabrook Elementary. They're not teaching that anymore in Detroit Public Schools Community District. I also, I was the captain of the safety patrol at Estabrook Elementary. And then I went straight to Northwestern High School from Estabrook because the school was too crowded. The junior high was McMichael, so those of us who had a certain test level, they put us straight in high school.
Which for Northwestern, I don't mean to interrupt you. The name has officially been changed back, I heard.
It has changed back to Northwestern High School. It was the old Northwestern High School, of course, when I went there. And I was there for my first 2 years of high school, and I competed in track and football at Northwestern. Baseball and basketball were my loves, but they would not let me play baseball after they had timed me for 40 yards. They timed me in 4.5 at Northwestern, which was pretty good, you know, for a 14-year-old, 15-year-old. I think I did it when I was 15, and I played a little football. They wouldn't let me play baseball because it was the same season, and I tried to play basketball, but I got cut. I could not make the team, so that's what I did at Northwestern High School.
Okay. I also wanted to ask you, because since I've known you for the years that I've known you, or known of you, you've been an author, a poet, a writer, on the school board. What were some of your other jobs?
Well, my earliest job, I was a paperboy for the Detroit Times, and that was interesting. Sometimes you had to fight for territory. I mean, and I was just a little kid then. I was like 11 or 12 years old. I guess another early job I had was at some point I had some trouble with an assistant principal at Northwestern. Okay. And his name was Dekoff, Arthur Dekoff, and he struck me one time. And unfortunately, I hit back, and I hit him a little too hard, and he ended up in the hospital. And I was not just suspended; I was expelled from the Detroit Public Schools. And I got in a very bad situation. I got sent to live with my father. That was a good thing. My mother had put my father out of the house for drinking and gambling, and he had got a house over on the east side. And so my father took me into a factory with him where he was working. It was Keystone Metal Molding Company in what was called East Detroit then. It's now called East Point. But I worked in that factory for a while. I didn't like it. I didn't like to hear the machines screaming in my ears, and I decided that I did not want to do that the rest of my life. But I also decided, I was 16 years old, and I actually looked like a man. I had a dark mustache. I looked like I was 20. My dad used to take me to the Cloverleaf Bar over on Gratiot, and we would sit there and drink with my 50-year-old father. I was 16 years old. Started dating a waitress there, and decided I was going to get myself a car. And I don't think I ever would have gone back to school at all if it hadn't been for my mother. My mother came back to my father. She said, "No more boxing," because I was boxing then. No more boxing. No more factory. He's going to get his butt in a high school. And my father's manager, a guy named Archie Silman, he had a gym over on Woodward Avenue. He had some connections with Arthur Dondenow, who at the time was the superintendent of the Detroit Public Schools, and he pulled a couple strings and he got me into Denby, because that was my father. We lived over at 10776 Haverhill by Hayes, so I got into Denby, and that was a really good thing, because the coaches there would not let me get in any trouble. They watched every move I made. Particularly after they had timed me for 40 yards. They timed me in 4.4. I took another tenth of a second off that 40 time. And then those coaches watched every move I made, and
kept you out of trouble.
Kept me out of trouble.
So there's the track. Is that what led you to college? Because did you go to college like, I want to be an electrician or whatever, I'm going to college, or was it the track that got you into college?
My father wanted me to turn professional. Actually, he wanted me to turn professional as a boxer at the age of 16, which I did not want to do. When the coaches, it was actually the coaches and some coaches in some other schools too, after they saw me run, told me that they could get me down to Wayne State.
Okay.
And I was, I had an athletic scholarship down at Wayne State waiting for me when I graduated from Denby High School. And that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, I really owe my entire life to the Detroit Public Schools athletic program and to the Wayne State University track and field program, because they gave me tuition, books, room, and board.
What was your major?
My major, actually, I started out in liberal arts English. But then in my junior year, I had some spare days, and junior level students could substitute teach in the Detroit Public Schools. So I substitute taught in a kindergarten. I substitute taught in senior classes in high school. I substitute taught all over the city, and I was having such a good time that I said to myself, I want to be a teacher now, and so I got a teaching certificate.
And is that where your love for helping the children and teaching the children came from?
You know, I have always been my happiest when I'm in front of a class, particularly a high school class, and I'm doing that now, and I have been doing it, off and on for 60 years, and that's one of the reasons why I get so upset, because now I'm the poet in residence for the Detroit Public Schools Community District, and in that capacity, I teach poetry. I team teach poetry at Frederick Douglass High School. And I've done that for the past year, and I'm going to be doing it again this year. And in the year before this past year, I did it for 3 years at Southeastern High School, where I used to be the track coach back in the early 1960s. And I have found, to my dismay, and also it angers me very much, my kids can't read. My high school kids can't read. And that's something that's why I'm running for the school board, because that's got to be fixed. I want to fix that that reading instructional program.
Okay. You're watching WJZZ Cool TV, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like us, follow us, share us, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. And also, the Senior Expo and Health Fair is Saturday, August 27th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. There will be live entertainment. It's at the Ernest T. Ford Recreation Center at 10 Pitkin Street in Highland Park. It is a free event, so come on out. So, John, I've read your books, some of your books, and some of them are so spicy. Woo-wee, I'm telling y'all. So tell me about your books and tell us about your poetry as well, your poetry books.
Okay, well, I've got a poetry book called The Lifelong Poetic Prancings of Mad John. This is it. And I guess it is a little spicy because in some ways it's an autobiography in verse. And I've got another book coming out. It's not out yet, but it's going to be called Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs.
What does that mean?
Well, it's going to be about athletes in and around Detroit, including me. It's going to be about activism, including my activism. And apple boughs, that's I took that phrase from one of my favorite poets, and that's about my interactions with females throughout the years.
Yeah, I'm telling y'all.
So it could get a little spicy, just as that book is, and also poetic prancings, the lifelong poetic prancings of Mad John, and. I also have an autobiography out that was published by Harmony Park Press back in 2010 called
Life on the Run?
Yeah, A Life on the Run, Seeking and Safeguarding Social Justice. And it's really not about my life on the run. It's not about my running so much as it is about my activism and my fights for social justice, and also the ladies. The ladies are always.
Some of the things he did, he should run. He should be running. I'm telling y'all.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I was married 3 times. I was very fortunate to be married to 3 really fine ladies, and had a lot of others that I almost married who were also very fine ladies. I also wrote a book called What Old Men Know, and this book, What Old Men Know, has as its subtitle A Definitive Dictionary and Almanac of Advice. And I wrote this book when my beard was still dark. I should have waited a while longer because I could have shared much more advice, now that my beard is white. And I've experienced a lot of things that I hadn't experienced yet when I wrote this book.
So do a part 2.
If I live long enough, I'll give it a shot. Right now, I'm trying to get on that school board.
Okay. So we talked about your books and your poetry. Can you recite one of your poems?
Okay.
Do a dirty one.
Oh man, I don't have any of those memorized.
Okay.
I'll do some of those another time. Here's one I'll do. My vision. Let me do my vision. Because there's some other poems too that are relevant to this interview. See if I got them in here. Here's one. I call this one Raising Our Titanic. Raising Our Titanic. In the North Atlantic, Imperial Titanic reared herself skyward, then sank to her graveyard. A Titan that was once my Motown's public schools was similarly sunk by evil, thieving ghouls. There is now emerging from our own North Atlantic my Motown's homegrown version of Imperial Titanic. And I'm hopeful that that's going to happen. But when I wrote that, it looked like it was going to happen because we had just finally got our elected school board back. But I'm not happy with many of the members of our elected school board, and this is why I am running again for the school board. But okay, let me give you one other poem. This is the one I was going to read when I thought about this poem. And this poem is called My Vision.
Okay.
I have a vision in my heart and in my spirit and my soul that all the children of Detroit will never have to pay the toll of poverty and ravaged mind, or end up dead or on the dole, but will, through education, find their life-fulfilling future goal. And you know, Char, they can only achieve that life-fulfilling future goal if we educators in the Detroit Public Schools Community District, because I am one, you know, I'm a member of the union again for the first time in 60-some years. I'm a Detroit Federation of Teachers member. You know, I've always been a union man, you know, live and die a union man, as my family also did.
That's mine, yeah.
And yours too. But we're not going to enable our kids to achieve their life-fulfilling future goal if they have not been taught to read.
Right.
And right now, we are not teaching them to read. We have not taught them to read.
So, what do you think is the problem as why they're not reading? I know I just, that's just something that comes to mind. What do you think is the problem?
You can't lay the blame at any single one person or entity. Certainly, you know, when Dr. Eddie Green was superintendent back in 1999 and before, that was when the Republicans took us over. Our kids in Detroit public schools were reading above the state average, at and above the state average. And we also had a $125 million surplus in the schools under Dr. Eddie Green. Now here we are, after the takeover, after the pandemic, after all the things that have happened. Our kids not only are not reading at or above grade level, our DPSCD children are reading not only below grade level. Their scores, and statisticians that I know have been sharing some of this information with me, their scores are the worst in the country. The only scores worse than Detroit Public Schools Community District scores are the charter school scores in the city of Detroit. So we've got a major problem that has to be solved, and that's why this old war horse sitting here is coming back out and going to try to get on that school board if I can, by hook or by crook.
So are these children, they're graduating these children who cannot read as well?
Well, I have a suspicion that we may be graduating fewer children than is known.
Okay.
At one point, I think the graduation percentage rate was 21%, and most of them were girls. So you can see what that is doing to our young men.
Oh, yeah. That's my book. That's kind of reason why. That's my target market is the young urban male, because they will not tell you that they cannot read. They absolutely will not tell you. They will rather skate along and pretend. And it is not a slight at them. It's just how society has taught them to be. So I also believe with the children that you need to find something that stimulates their mind, that interests them, and then that will help them to go into other things. Is that what you think your athletics did for you?
Well, my athletics probably gave me an advantage in the high schools, both as I was a coach in many schools, and also the kids knew me. They knew my accomplishments. But I use my poetry to educate.
Okay.
And I also have to say that I use it for political means. You know, I'm always doing anti-Trump poetry. And
are the children receptive to
oh yeah,
poetry?
some of the best poetry that some of my kids wrote at Southeastern was anti-Trump. And a kid named Christopher Gould wrote a great poem. I wish I'd brought it with me. I'd share it. and it was an anti-Trump poem. It was just a couple of lines, but it was great.
But you do think that your youthful athletic experiences help shape you?
Oh, absolutely. My athletic experiences shaped me in so many ways. They, for one thing, I learned that if you lose a race, and I lost a race, I think it was 32 races. Of course, I won 174. But every one of those races that I lost was a learning experience.
Right.
And when you lose any kind of a contest, whether it's an athletic contest or another kind of contest in business, in getting a job, in education, you learn from that, and you endeavor not to make the same mistake the next time around.
Right. That is right. You learn from your experiences, good or bad. It's a learning lesson.
You know, another thing I'll say about athletics, I retain the same level of energy that I had when I was outrunning Olympic champions. I still have that level of energy. Now, the gentleman who was supposed to be on this show today but didn't make it because he had an emergency, and I hope it wasn't a real serious emergency. I hope no one's going to the hospital or something. But that gentleman has told me more than once that I am too old to run for the school board. And I beg to differ. I do not believe that I am too old to run for the school board because I still have that level of energy. There are some people who don't have that level of energy who are 86 years old. I do not number among them. I am perfectly qualified to run for the school board in terms of my level of energy, and I'm even more qualified in terms of my experience because I've been in school districts, I've run school districts, and this school district needs my service, and I am a born and bred Detroiter, and I'm going to do my best to give that service to the school district because these kids need it.
Yeah, okay. So he says you're too old. Let's take that off the table. Maybe you don't feel that you are too old. But what is it that, like, why are you running, John? What you do a lot. You think about it, you do a lot of stuff. You have this show, you have another show on WCHB, you are a poet in resident for the school board, you are active in other things, and then you want to add school board. Why?
Because the current school board, with a couple of exceptions, just sits up there like lumps, even though they know that the current administration needs to make a change in order to enable these kids to read or to begin to learn to read, because they can't read. I mean, what is the major responsibility of a school district? Okay, number one, of course, to make sure the kids are safe.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, we have to enable every kid in this school district, all 46, 47, 48,000 of them, how many we've got now, we've got to make sure they all can read. If they can't read, they're heading to the dole, as I said in that poem. They're heading to the graveyard. They're heading to prison. We've got to enable them to read. I mean, I came out of a school district in January of 1954, graduated from Denby High School, Detroit Denby High School at that time, and I had the equivalent of a sophomore in college in terms of my education. I was at that level, thanks to the Detroit public schools. Now, the kids that we've got coming out of Detroit right now deserve the same education that I got in this school district then. And that is what needs to happen. That is what we have to provide for them.
Okay. You're watching the Dr. John Telford Detroit Show, live streaming on WJZZ Cool TV on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Now, doesn't the current school board, one, know that the children can't read, and why do you think they aren't doing anything? And then two, does it all fall on the school board? What about the parents?
Well, educators can complain about the parents all they want, but that's a cop-out. When you give me a kid who can't read, and his or her parent did not do anything to enable him or her to read, I still have the responsibility as an educator to make sure that that kid can read when he graduates or she graduates from my school district. So, and I'm not blaming this entire board. There are 2 or 3 people on that board who do care and who are trying to make a difference. And I've actually been talking to one of them who's actually coming around a little bit because I've had some conversations with that particular lady, and I think maybe she's going to make some changes or help Dr. Vitti to make some changes.
Right, because if you get on the board and then the people that you feel will help you are no longer on the board, then you've got these that don't know, don't care. Then you're just one person going up against somebody who doesn't know or doesn't care.
Yeah, and then I would be doing the same thing I've been doing at all the board meetings, going up there and complaining the way Helen Moore has been doing, and the way James Beasley has been doing, and the way Aaliyah Moore has been doing, and they're all doing the right thing, and they all care very much, and they're trying to get that board to care as much as they do. And that's what I'll continue to do on the board. But of course, I have a little advantage that some of them don't have, because I've got that WCHB show, I've got my 2 newspapers, and I've got this show right here.
Okay.
And I've also got another show that's running right now. You know, the kid that I coach in Half Mile at Southeastern High School is Tim Moore, and he runs Detroit Internet Protocol Television, and that's running every week. So these are some advantages that I have that perhaps some others don't. And believe me, I will use them for the kids, because I haven't gotten this angry in a long time. When I look at a piece of paper that one of my kids wrote at King, not at King, I'm not at King anymore, but at Frederick Douglass at Southeastern, it makes me sad, but it also makes me very, very angry, because this is my hometown, this is my home school district. It educated me. It's got to educate them the way it educated me. That is my goal. If it's the last thing I do, and it may be the last thing I do, if I get that accomplished, I will rest easy.
Okay. I mean, I do think that the parents do have a role to play in educating the children. It doesn't stop. So the child goes to school from 8 to 3 and then goes home and does homework for an hour. There needs to be more, I think, at home. I think the parents and the teachers need to work together in order to educate the children. But it does start, I believe, in the school. That's where the main thing should be. But if the home environment is not good, what's the school environment going to fix? It needs to be fixed at home, I think, too.
Well, the school environment can fix it, because I've seen some kids come out of terrible, terrible, terrible situations. Way back when I was teaching, when I first started teaching in Detroit in the late 50s and early 60s, I saw some kids who were coming out of terrible situations, living in dirt floor houses, all kinds of really bad situations, didn't know their father. But we got those kids educated. A lot of times, an extracurricular helps. Because if a kid gets interested in a sport, or gets interested in chess, or gets interested in music or art,
something to pull them, their other interests that will make them realize that, oh, I can't do this without reading. Because if you want to play chess and you need to read about how to play chess, if you can't read, you're not going to be able to figure it out. So these are things, like you say, your athletics helped you, shaped you in some way, and I think that's something that the children you need to get them interested in something else. I think you need to ask the children, what do they want? Because they're the ones that you're trying to help. And if you think you have an idea and they're like, I don't want to do that. So it all has to come together. And I think the children need to be involved in their education as well as the other things. So What do you think?
Well, no question. The kids have to be motivated, and one way of motivating them is ask them, how can I motivate you?
Exactly.
You know, what do you want to do? What do you want me to help you do? There's no question that the kids have to be involved. Sometimes, we stop. I think that sometimes administrators in a school district could just keep passing their memos around and issuing their directives, and all of a sudden, if all the kids dropped out, they'd still be doing it. Hey, where are the kids? We students? Did we lose students? We don't have our students anymore?
I think they've forgotten who it is that they're supposed to be looking out for.
Many of us have. Many of them have. Many educators have. On the other hand, I've seen some educators swimming upstream in the school district and doing amazing things in very, very trying circumstances. I ran school districts outside of this district. I was a superintendent here for a year, a little over a year, but I also ran the school districts elsewhere, in Rochester, and I had high positions in Plymouth Canton. I was a superintendent in Madison. And I'll tell you, some of those teachers in Rochester, they think they're the Harvard of the West. Put them at East English Village High School for about 2 weeks, and they'd be getting in their car maybe 2 days, be more like it, and be speeding back north as fast as their car could carry them. That's and I'll say that because I've experienced it at all levels.
So, what's your plan? What's your plan for when you get on the school board? Day one, John's on the school board. What you doing?
Well, I would like the school board to listen to some presentations about elementary school reading. And I would like them to bring some folks in, not just the quick-to-learn people. And, of course, the quick-to-learn people are pay only for success. Maybe there are some other agencies that will come in and have enough confidence to say, hey, you don't have to pay us if we don't bring these kids up to Sigma, in 1 year, on a scale. That's what I think this board already should have done. They should have given the quick to learn folks an audience. They should have given any other agency that has a similar model and similar stats behind them, similar statistics that it's documented that they have been successful in doing this, as Quick to Learn has been. Quick to Learn is in Puerto Rico and all over the place except here, and it's actually local. I mean, the CEO of Quick to Learn is a Cass Technical High School graduate. But that's what I am hoping that this current school board, or perhaps the new school board, will do. And I also want to see this current school board, or the new school board, give several agencies a chance and use. They can use Quick to Learn, for example, in Helen Moore's program, which is the Let's Read program. That's a good supplement to the Quick to Learn program. Use both of those programs at the elementary level, where they are field proven, field tested, and the folks that are running them know what they're doing. And then the Beyond Basics, as I understand it, has some testimony from high school students that it has been successful with them. So there's no reason why we can't continue to keep the Beyond Basics program. Now, I know that Rachel Vitti has stepped down to save the schools from controversy because her husband is the superintendent, and she was employed by Quick to Learn. She's left, not Quick to Learn, but Beyond Basics. She's left Beyond Basics now. It's a shame she had to do that. I wish she hadn't had to do that, but she did.
They said it was a conflict of interest or something?
Yeah, I don't think it really was a conflict of interest. She had worked with them before, and they'd been in the school district before the Vittis ever came to Detroit. But this is what I am hoping will happen. And I'm going to say this, too. I am not interested in firing anybody, in demoting anybody. I just want everybody to get together for the benefit of these children.
To work together.
Yes.
So where do you think we're losing the children? What is it, elementary? Because most kids in elementary do what they're said, do what they're told. Then you get to middle school. Is that where we're losing them?
No, at the elementary level, we've got to cut the class size way down,
Okay.
and we've got to almost start over. We got to start over with these kids, because by the time they leave the third grade, if they can't read, if they progress into the fourth grade and they haven't really progressed, they're doomed. You know, their future is doomed. That's why we have to remediate. That's why I want right now to see if we can get a grant to teach secondary teachers to teach reading, phonics-based reading, in addition to their subject matter. I mean, this is a very, very big challenge that they're going to face, but they have to face it, because we can't just abandon the high school kids who are about to go out into the world unable to read.
Right.
We can't do that.
So you're saying that basically we have to start pretty much all over again with the kids.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, but at all levels.
At all
At
levels.
all levels. I'm not just talking about third grade, second grade, first grade. I'm talking about 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. We have to remediate the older kids, and we have to teach the younger kids. And,
Now, I think the older kids, I think you're going to have a problem with them. They're you're 16, 17, you're 17, you're a year from grown or from getting out of school, and you want me to start over. And that start over may show you my flaws, and I may not want you to see them. So it's going to be tough. How do you think you're going to be able to do that?
I don't know. Very
Honestly,
frankly,
you
I
don't
don't
know. Okay.
I don't know. All I know is that we can try, and we've got to try. That's our responsibility as educators. I mean, if you're not going to try to teach, go and sell whirly-bird helicopters on the street corner or something, because you're not a teacher.
Right.
I am a teacher. That's what I am. And we've got a crisis. We have a reading crisis
We do.
in this city.
We do. We have 130 million adults in America that cannot read or read at or below an 8th grade level. And that is staggering. And every year we push out roughly 4 million 18-year-olds in America. So then if half of them can't read, that's another 2 million people that can't read. And those numbers jumped during the 2 years that we were in pandemic. They almost tripled from those that cannot read. And I understand what you're saying, but we need to figure it out. And you say you really don't know how we're going to figure it out, but you're willing to get in there and try.
Well, I can motivate high school kids.
Okay.
And there are other teachers in the school district who can motivate high school kids.
Okay.
And that's always the key. You've got to make them want to learn what you're teaching them.
That is true, because if they don't want it, it doesn't matter how you're giving it, they're not going to accept it. So, I don't know, John, I think you have a hard job ahead of you.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
I'm
I welcome
gonna-
it. I welcome it.
You welcome it. Okay. I'm going to do this a little early because I want to ask you welcoming it, but I want to ask you, do you expect to win that? So hold on. You're watching WJZZ Cool TV live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ TV, the coolest station in the world. And the Senior Expo and Health Fair is Saturday, August 27th. There's live entertainment. It's from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Ernest T. Ford Recreation Center on 10 Pickens Street in Highland Park, Michigan. It's a free event, so come on out. Do you have any announcements that you need to
Yeah,
do?
this one I have to make. Miss Virginia Starkey, fondly known simply as V, the proprietress of V's Boutique, offers a wide range of fine clothing and accessories for ladies. You can find all sizes of women's fine apparel in V's one-stop excellent customer service at V's Boutique that you can't find anywhere else in Detroit anymore.
This lovely shawl came from V's. It has buttons, keeps it when you're cool. Anyway.
Okay, and V's Boutique is at 16423 East Warren Avenue. 16423 East Warren Avenue, right around the corner from the Alger Theater, which is also right around the corner from one of the few libraries that is still open in the city, and we've got to make sure we get those libraries open. And V's Boutique can be contacted at 248-662-6622. That's 248-662-6622.
You get a commercial and a fashion show.
Yeah, right. Good. That's good.
Now, you say that it's a tough job. You say you can motivate the children. You say, you may come up against a board that may not be on your side. You're going to have to start from the beginning with the children. Why, I ask you, why are you running? You say because even though you don't have it all figured out, you're willing to try. And I think that's a big part of it. As long as you're willing to try, I think you should be given a chance to try. But do you expect to win?
I never entered any contest in my life.
Expecting to lose.
Not expecting to win. I am trying to win. I don't have a lot of money, but I do have some name recognition.
Right.
I do have some programs that aren't costing me any money to run for the school board.
Right.
And I'm going to do my best, to win, as I always have. When I beat Jenkins was the #1 quarter miler in the world back in the mid 1950s, and the first time I beat him, he said, "How did that happen?" And second time I beat him, the first time was in Austin, Texas, the NCAA. Second time I beat him was the National AAU in Dayton. And that time he didn't say anything. Third time I beat him, and all three of those races were at the quarter mile distance, and two of them were faster than he had won the 1956 Olympic Games in the quarter mile. I couldn't resist. I said, "Charlie," his name was Charlie Jenkins, a Villanova runner. I said, "Charlie, do you still think it was an accident?" Which was a mistake, by the way, because I raced him in Chicago over 600 yards the next winter. And I was leading at about 550 yards, and I saw this big brown leg come alongside. I love to tell this story. And I said, "Uh-oh." And he said, "Finally got you, Detroit." He called me Detroit because I was running for the Detroit Track Club in that race. Mm-hmm. But anyway.
But this is a different kind of race, John.
Oh, that's a long answer for a short question. But yes, I intend to win. I will do everything that I can to win.
Okay. Now, when you do the school board meetings, are there a lot of parents there?
Yes, there are a lot of parents there protesting and telling the school board, or asking the school board, what are you going to do to fix this reading program?
So are you talking to them to see what it is that...
Yeah, I talk to them all the time. Most of them are from the National Action Network. I'm a lifetime member of the National Action Network. I know them all. And Helen Moore is always there, with her strident, righteous voice. Leah Moore is there. James Beasley is there. I'm there. Ms. Peoples is there. I mean, all of the usual suspects show up, and we're going to continue to do it.
So if they're there, I don't understand where the problem is, where the disconnect is with the board. I don't know if you want to say this, but who's on your side on that board? Who is a like-minded?
Sherry Gay Danyogo is on my side.
Okay.
Of course, Lamar Lemon's wife, who is up for re-election, is on my side. She doesn't say a lot, though, because Georgia Lemons isn't a big talker. But Sherry is.
Yeah.
And another big talker on that board is the board president, Angelique Peterson Mayberry, and I'm starting to see some change in her. I think she's not happy that I think she really cares that these kids can't read, and she wants to see that changed.
Are all of them up for re-election as well?
I think Angelique is running, Carletta Vaughn is running, Georgia is running, and Dr. Deborah Hunter Harville is running.
How many spots?
There are 4 spots. There are 18 people running. I'm
Okay.
one of the 18. I think I'm the only white runner.
Okay.
And but there are some men running. There are some other men other than I, and I think we need to get a little testosterone on that board. That's my own opinion. Got a little bit too much estrogen right now.
Hey.
Actually, 100%. There are seven women.
And there are seven. There are seven.
Yeah, it's a seven member board.
Okay.
And if we can get 4 people to agree with what, or 3 people to agree with what I'm trying to do, the kids will be saved. And that's what I'm about.
Okay. So, John, I'm be honest. I think you have an uphill battle.
No question.
And then, when you win, if you win, when you win, I think you'll still have an uphill battle.
No question.
So, what is it that you want to say to, I guess, convince people to vote for you, or, you know?
Well, I've got the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lifetime educator. I'm not a reading teacher, but I'm a lifetime educator. And these kids need me on that board. So vote for John Telford on the 8th of November.
The 8th of November. All right. Anything else you want to say?
Nope. I think I've said it all.
Nothing about who you are and what you are?
Well, I might do this last little poem, maybe,
Okay.
if I can find it. I can't find it. Is it over here? No. I was going to do the poem about Trump. I just want to see that sucker in prison, before he chokes on a
Read one of
cheeseburger.
your other ones real quick.
No. Oh, here it is. It's called The Turd That Hasn't Flushed. The real title is Uncivil Warfare. And I wrote it on the 6th of January, 2021. On this evil and fatal occasion of the Capitol building invasion, the traitor Trump's collusion demands his execution. God yet hasn't pushed the lever on the traitor Trump forever. And when he does, let us hope that the lever is that of the gas chamber. But if it isn't, let's at least make sure that we put that sucker in prison for the rest of his natural life to set an example for the rest of the country. You should not be committing treason in getting away with it.
Well, I'm going to say this. I enjoyed interviewing you. This was different. Also, you interviewed me, and now I'm interviewing you.
Turnabout is fair play.
Right. I want to wish you good luck. I mean, I think you may be a breath of fresh air on the school board. I am not a Detroit resident, so I don't vote in the Detroit elections. So that being said, good luck, and I'm sure you'll mention it many, many, many more times before the election on November 8th.
And I'm going to use this as a prototype. This show right here, I'm going to show it many times.
All right.
Show with Dr. John Telford and co-host Charlotte Jones on WJZZ Detroit Internet Television, coming to you live every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. Also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Contact Dr. Telford at 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. Or at Dr. John Telford, EDD, at AOL.com. That's DrJohnTelford, at AOL.com. To sponsor or appear on this show, or to get signed copies of his book, which Hugh Perkins, Jeffrey Feiger, and Dr. Wayne Dyer all call spellbinding and sensational. It was the late, great Dr. Wayne Dyer who said, Dr. John Telford has a warrior's heart and a poet's soul. Read Dr. Telford's commentaries on the schools and other vital topics in the Telford Telescope column in the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. And also hear him on his other station, WCHB AM 1340, every Saturday morning at 9:30 and Monday evening at 6:30. That's every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. and Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. on WCHB AM 1340. Tune in again next Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock to the John Telford Detroit Show here on WJZZ Cool TV with Dr. Telford and co-host Charlotte Jones. Thank you for listening to the John Telford Detroit Show.
We got the whole show in that time.